Ready to waste a few more minutes of your day with me in this public service of emotional uselessness, my friends? Because today's family circus isn't just messy. It's the kind of messy that makes you stare at your ceiling at 3 in the morning like, am I the problem? Or is my bloodline haunted? And before you act all superior, let me ask you directly, could you handle finding out your aunt got pregnant by your dad?
Here's the deal. Riley thought her family was normal American dysfunctional, passive-aggressive holiday dinners, weird grudges, and that one aunt who overshares like it's a sport. Then she overheard one sentence that turned her family tree into a pretzel. Her mom's sister had a baby with her dad. Meaning Riley had a little girl in the family who was both her cousin and her half-sister. Stick with me, my friends, because it gets worse before it gets funny, and then it gets worse again.
And if you stay to the end, you'll know exactly why Riley stopped complaining about awkward relatives forever. Like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with the friend who always says, my family is so toxic, because I need them to sit down, hydrate, and gain some perspective.
Riley was the type of woman who could survive any family gathering with 3 tools: a polite smile, a strategic seat near the exit, and a drink that made her hands look busy. She wasn't antisocial. She was just experienced. Thanksgiving at Grandma Patrice's house had always been a performance. Not the cute kind with kids doing school plays, the kind where adults pretend they like each other because casseroles are present and someone might post photos. The smell hit first: turkey, gravy, cinnamon candles, and that faint undertone of resentment that lived permanently in the walls. The living room looked the same as every year: framed family photos at weird angles, throw pillows no one was allowed to sit on, and a giant decorative sign that said family, like it wasn't a threat. Riley arrived with her mom, Dana, who had that tight smile she reserved for "I am fine, and I will not be discussing it." Dana carried a pie like it was a peace offering to a war she didn't start. Then came Aunt Tessa, Donna's younger sister, walking in like she owned the house, the holiday, and the oxygen. Tessa wore perfume that announced her presence 2 rooms before she did, and she laughed like her own jokes paid her rent. Riley's dad, Mark, was already there, standing by the kitchen island in his helpful dad stance, talking football with an uncle and acting like life was uncomplicated. He hugged Riley, kissed her forehead, and asked if she was eating enough lately. It was sweet. It was familiar. It was the exact kind of normal that makes betrayal land harder, my friends. Dinner started the usual way: people complimenting food they didn't cook, kids being bribed to behave, and Grandma Patrice issuing orders like a general with cranberry sauce. Riley sat between her mom and a cousin who was doom scrolling under the table. She tried to settle into the rhythm of polite chaos. Then she noticed something. Her mom wasn't eating. Dana was pushing mashed potatoes around her plate like she was negotiating with them. Her jaw looked tense, like she'd been clenching for years. And Aunt Tessa kept glancing at Dad. Not openly. Not obvious. Just enough that Riley's brain pinged, like, that's weird. Riley tried to ignore it, because Riley was a professional at ignoring weird family dynamics. That was basically her hobby. After dinner, while everyone migrated toward the living room for pie, Riley went to the kitchen to help, which was code for escaping small talk and taking deep breaths near the sink. She was reaching into the freezer for ice, the most universal excuse known to humanity, when she heard voices in the hallway. Grandma Patrice's voice, low and sharp. Donna's voice, quieter, like it hurt to use. Riley froze. Not because she was trying to eavesdrop. Because the universe grabbed her by the ponytail and said, "Oh, you're listening." Grandma Patrice spoke first. "If you're going to keep acting like it didn't happen, at least stop looking at her like that. The child didn't ask to be born." Riley's fingers tightened on the freezer handle. The child. Dana sounded like she was swallowing broken glass. "And what do you want me to do? Hug her? Buy her a Christmas gift? Smile and say hello, niece, when she's." Silence dropped like a heavy blanket. Grandma Patrice let out a tired breath. "She's what she is. Your sister got pregnant by your husband. That's the truth. You either live with it or you don't." Riley's phone buzzed in her pocket, and for a second she didn't know if the vibration was real or if her soul was trying to exit her body. She stepped back, slowly, like the words might explode if she moved too fast. Her brain tried to reject the information, tried to file it under impossible. But the words were too clear, too specific, too casual for something that insane. Your sister got pregnant by your husband. Riley's stomach turned. She walked back into the living room with empty hands because she forgot the ice, forgot the pie plates, forgot how to be a person. She sat down and smiled like she had practiced in front of mirrors her whole life. Her dad was laughing. Her aunt was scrolling through photos on her phone, showing someone a video of the cutest little angel. Her mom was staring at the fireplace like she wanted to climb into it and become smoke. Riley didn't hear the conversation. All she heard was the sentence, looping in her head like a cursed playlist. Her aunt. Her dad. A child. Riley looked at Aunt Tessa's face, searching for signs: guilt, fear, anything human. But Tessa's expression was relaxed, confident, almost amused. Tessa caught Riley's eye and gave her a small smile. Not a nervous smile. A knowing one. And Riley, my friends, felt the ground tilt. A few minutes later, the front door opened and cold air rushed in. And then a little girl came flying into the house like a joyful tornado. She was small, bundled in a puffy coat, cheeks red from the cold, hair pulled into two messy pigtails. She looked about kindergarten age with the kind of energy that makes adults say, "Wow, someone's got big feelings like that's not every child ever." Aunt Tessa squealed and dropped to her knees. "There's my baby." The girl ran straight into her arms. Riley watched, detached, like she was seeing it through glass. Everyone cooed. Everyone smiled. Everyone acted like this was normal. Grandma Patrice clapped her hands. "Look who decided to grace us." Tessa turned, still holding the girl, and announced with theatrical pride, "Everybody, say hi to Lila." Lila. The child. Donna's shoulders tightened. Riley saw it. Her mom's hands clenched so hard her knuckles went pale. Then Lila wriggled out of Tessa's arms and ran across the room, straight toward Riley's dad. "Daddy." Mark's face changed for the briefest second. A flicker. A micro-freeze. Like his body remembered consequences before his brain could cover them up. Then he smiled, wide and soft, and crouched down. "Hey, princess." Lila threw her arms around his neck. Riley felt something cold crawl up her spine. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't family gossip. This was a living, breathing little human calling her father daddy with full confidence. Riley's mouth went dry. She looked at her mom. Donna's eyes were glossy. She wasn't surprised she was wounded. That was the difference. Riley looked at Grandma Patrice. The old woman's face held that stubborn, tired expression of someone who had decided this situation would be managed, not solved. And Aunt Tessa looked satisfied. Like this was her holiday centerpiece. Riley's chest tightened until it hurt. She wanted to stand up and scream, "Are you all insane?" She wanted to grab her mom's hand and run. She wanted to shake her dad and ask him what kind of man does that. But she stayed seated because shock is weird like that. It makes you behave like you're fine even when your reality is melting. Lila climbed onto Mark's lap like she belonged there because in her world, she did. And Riley sat there, watching her family act like the sky wasn't on fire. In the kitchen, Dana rinsed dishes that were already clean. Her hands moved on autopilot, like if she stopped, she might collapse. Riley followed her and leaned against the counter, trying to steady her breathing. She spoke carefully because she wasn't sure if words would come out as words or as screams. "Mom." Dana didn't look up. "Not here." Riley's laugh came out sharp. "Not here? Mom. Where is the appropriate location to discuss that my aunt has a child with my father? The driveway? A Starbucks? Should I book a conference room?" Dana flinched. Not from the sarcasm, from the truth. Before Dana could answer, Aunt Tessa walked in like she hadn't just thrown a grenade into the living room. Tessa grabbed a glass of water and took a slow sip, her eyes flicking between them. "Well," she said, light as whipped cream. "Looks like someone heard." Riley stared at her. Dana whispered, "Tessa." Riley's voice stayed calm only because rage was holding it together like glue. "So it's true." Tessa tilted her head. "Depends what you mean by true." Riley blinked, incredulous. My friends, Riley would have said if she were narrating her own life. This woman is trying to debate reality. Riley stepped closer. Is Lila my dad's kid? Tessa's mouth tightened just slightly.
Yes.
Dana made a sound like pain. Riley's stomach dropped again, because even though she knew, hearing it confirmed was different. It hit like a punch. Riley turned to her mom. You knew. Dana closed her eyes. Riley's voice cracked. How long? Donna's answer came out like a confession. Since before you were born. Riley's head spun. She grabbed the edge of the counter. So my whole life you've been sitting at tables with her. With him. With that secret. Donna's shoulders shook. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. Tessa rolled her eyes, like Donna's tears were an inconvenience. Okay, can we not do the martyr thing? Riley's gaze snapped to her aunt. The martyr thing? Babe, you slept with your sister's husband. Tessa's face hardened.
He came to me.
Riley laughed, ugly and sharp. Oh my God, of course. The classic. He tripped and fell into your uterus. Dana gasped like she wanted Riley to stop, but she also looked like part of her wished someone had said it years ago. Tessa set the glass down with a clink. Watch your mouth. Riley leaned forward. You're right. Let me fix it. You made choices. He made choices. And my mom got handed the cleanup, like she's the family janitor. Dana finally looked up, eyes red. Riley. Riley softened for a second, turning to her mom.
No.
Don't protect them. Please don't protect them. Tessa crossed her arms.
This isn't as dramatic as you think.
Riley stared at her like she'd lost her mind. It's exactly as dramatic as I think. It's a soap opera with mashed potatoes. Donna's voice dropped to a whisper. I stayed because I didn't know how to leave. Riley looked at her mother, really looked, and saw years of swallowed rage behind her eyes.
Tessa scoffed. You stayed because you wanted to.
Donna's head snapped toward her sister. I stayed because I was pregnant with Riley. Riley's breath caught. Dana continued, words shaking but firm. I stayed because I was terrified. Because Mom told me it would destroy the family. Because everyone acted like I should be grateful he didn't leave me. Tessa's expression shifted for a moment, not guilt, but irritation, like Dana was ruining the script. Riley's throat tightened. So I was what? Your anchor? Dana looked at her daughter, desperate.
No.
You were my reason to keep breathing. Riley swallowed hard. Tessa cut in, impatient. And I didn't even want to keep him, okay?
It wasn't like that.
Riley's eyes went cold. You didn't want him. You just wanted the power of him. Tessa's face reddened. Shut up. Riley smiled, small and sharp.
No.
I've been quiet my whole life without even knowing. Today I'm done. From the living room, Grandma Patrice called out with forced cheer. Who wants pie? The timing was criminal. Riley took a slow breath, like she was trying to keep her body from turning into a wildfire. Dana wiped her face quickly, like tears were a weakness she wasn't allowed to show. Tessa walked past them first, head high, because of course she did. Riley followed her mom back into the living room, where everyone was laughing and passing plates like the world was normal. Lila sat on Mark's lap, swinging her legs. Riley watched her dad feed the child a bite of whipped cream off his finger, smiling like a proud father. It was sweet. It was nauseating. Riley leaned toward her dad. We need to talk. Mark looked surprised, then smiled like he was being summoned for something simple. Sure, kiddo. Outside. Something in Riley's tone made his smile falter. He stood up and followed her to the back porch. Cold air hit Riley's face like a slap. She welcomed it. It made everything feel sharper, more real. Mark shoved his hands into his pockets. What's going on? Riley stared at him. Her voice came out steady, but her body trembled with contained emotion. Is Lila your daughter? Mark blinked once. Then he exhaled like he'd been carrying that secret for decades and was tired of holding it.
Yes.
Riley's eyes stung. With my aunt. Mark nodded. Riley let out a short laugh that sounded like disbelief breaking. How could you do that to Mom? Mark's face tightened. It was a mistake. Riley's head tilted slowly. A mistake is buying the wrong cranberry sauce. This is a child.
Mark's jaw clenched. Don't talk to me like that.
Riley's smile turned bitter.
How do you want me to talk to you?
Like you're a good man? Mark's eyes flashed with something defensive.
You don't know what your mother and I were going through.
Riley's voice rose. I don't need the backstory to understand that you slept with her sister. Mark stepped closer, lowering his voice like that made it better.
I was lonely.
Riley stared at him.
Oh, poor baby.
You were lonely, so you created lifelong trauma for everyone around you. Mark flinched.
Tessa, listen to me.
She made me feel important? Riley finished sharp. Congratulations. You traded your integrity for an ego boost. Mark's face hardened. I love your mother. Riley laughed again, bitter. You love her like a comfortable chair. You sit in it every day and still treat it like it can't leave. Mark's shoulders sagged. I regretted it. Riley's voice cracked. And yet you still bring Lila around like it's no big deal. Like mom should smile and play Andy to the child you made with her sister. Mark's eyes dropped. Lila didn't do anything wrong. Riley nodded once. I know. She's innocent. That's what makes you the villain. Mark's eyes snapped up.
Don't call me that.
Riley stepped back, breathing hard. What do you call yourself, then? Mark didn't answer. That silence was its own confession. Riley swallowed, forcing herself to speak. You're going to tell the truth. To everyone. You're going to stop letting mom carry this alone. Mark's mouth tightened.
Dana chose to stay.
Riley's eyes went cold. Don't you dare. Don't you put this on her like it's some joint project. You betrayed her. You broke her. And then you let her live in the rubble. Mark's face flushed. What do you want from me? Riley's voice dropped low. I want you to respect her. For once. Mark's shoulders slumped. You think I don't feel guilty? Riley stared at him. I think you feel uncomfortable. There's a difference. Riley turned toward the door. Mark called after her. Riley. She paused. Mark's voice softened. I love you. Riley's throat tightened. I love you too, she said quietly. And that's what makes this hurt like hell. Then she walked back inside. Riley found Dana in the kitchen again, staring at the sink like it held answers. Riley stepped close.
Mom.
We're leaving. Donna's eyes flicked toward the living room. I can't. Riley's voice stayed gentle, but firm. Yes, you can. Dana shook her head, tears forming. Your grandma will. I don't care, Riley said. Let her. Donna's lips trembled. I don't want a scene. Riley let out a shaky laugh. Mom, the scene happened years ago. We're just finally acknowledging it. Dana hesitated, like her body had forgotten it was allowed to move without permission. Riley reached for her mom's hand. Dana squeezed back, small, terrified. They walked into the living room. Grandma Patrice looked up immediately, suspicious. Where are you going? Riley smiled sweetly.
To breathe.
This house is full of lies and cinnamon. Grandma's face hardened. Don't be disrespectful. Riley's eyes stayed on her. Respect left the building a long time ago. I'm just the one holding the door open. Tessa's head snapped around. Riley, don't do this. Riley glanced at Lila at her little face, innocent and confused. Riley softened her voice just enough. Lila, honey, go show your toys to Grandma in the other room. Lila nodded and ran off. The moment she disappeared, the air got heavier. Dana stood taller than Riley had seen in years. Grandma Patrice crossed her arms. This is family. We don't air things out. Riley's laugh came out sharp. Yeah, you just bury them and call it tradition. Donna's voice shook, but it carried. I'm done. Grandma blinked. Done with what? Dana looked at her mother, then at her husband, then at her sister. Done pretending. Tessa scoffed. So what, you're leaving? After all these years? For what? To prove something? Donna's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed steady. To save myself. Mark stepped forward. Dana, please. Dana looked at him like she was seeing him clearly for the first time.
No.
Grandma Patrice's face twisted with anger. Think about what people will say. Riley rolled her eyes. People can say whatever they want. People didn't live this. Tessa's voice got sharper, desperate. And what about Lila? Dana turned to her sister, voice calm and clear. I'm not punishing your child. I'm leaving your betrayal. Tessa's face tightened, like she wanted to scream. Riley stepped closer to her mom. We're going. And they walked out. In the car, Donna's hands shook as she buckled her seatbelt. Riley drove with both hands on the wheel, breathing like she'd just run a marathon through fire. Dana whispered, I try to keep you from finding out. Riley's jaw tightened.
Why?
Dana swallowed. Because I didn't want you to hate your father. Riley laughed softly, broken. And what about you? Did you think it wouldn't make me angry that you lived like this? Donna's tears slipped down her cheeks. I didn't know how to tell you. Riley's eyes burned.
I'm so sorry.
Dana shook her head. No, she whispered.
I'm sorry.
They sat in silence for a few minutes, the kind that feels like grief wearing a blanket. Then Riley spoke, voice low. We're going to stop letting them rewrite reality. Dana stared out the window.
How?
Riley's eyes stayed on the road. With proof. With boundaries. With the truth out loud. Donna's breath hitched. Riley continued, steady. We're doing a DNA test. Dana turned, horrified. Why would you do that? Riley swallowed. Because they will try to gaslight us. They'll say you're dramatic. They'll say I'm disrespectful. They'll say it's a misunderstanding. I want something they can't talk their way out of. Donna's hands trembled. That will destroy everything. Riley's voice was soft but firm. Everything is already destroyed. They just threw a tablecloth over it. Dana stared at her daughter, like she didn't recognize her. Riley gave her a sad smile. I'm done being the only one in the family who doesn't get the truth. The days after Thanksgiving felt unreal. Riley went to work and answered emails like her family wasn't actively imploding. She sat in meetings while her brain replayed Daddy like a siren. Dana stayed with Riley for a while, sleeping in the guest room, moving around the apartment like she wasn't sure she was allowed to take up space. Mark sent text, can we talk? I'm sorry. Please don't do this. Tessa sent longer texts, the kind that start with I didn't mean for it to happen and end with but you're being unfair. Grandma Patrice sent voice notes crying about family unity like unity hadn't been used as a weapon. Riley read them all and felt something solidify in her chest. People who benefit from silence always panic when someone speaks. The DNA kit arrived in a plain box, as if the universe was trying to be polite about delivering devastation. Riley stared at it on the counter for a long time. Dana walked in, saw it, and froze. I can't, Dana whispered. Riley stepped closer and took her mom's hands. You can. Dana shook her head, tears rising. It feels wrong. Riley's voice softened. What's wrong is what they did. This is just reality, with paperwork. Dana laughed weakly through tears. Riley's eyes stung. You've carried this alone for so long. Let me carry it with you. Donna's shoulders shook. After a long moment, Dana nodded. They did the samples quietly, like it was a funeral for the life Dana thought she had. A week later, the results arrived in Riley's email. Riley opened them with Dana sitting beside her, both of them holding their breath like they were underwater. And there it was. Confirmation in cold, clinical language. Lila was Mark's biological child, which meant Lila wasn't only Donna's niece. She was Riley's half-sister. And because she was also Tessa's child, she was Riley's cousin. Riley stared at the screen, blinking. Then she let out a short laugh that sounded like her sanity trying to survive. My friends, she would have said if the universe had given her a camera, I officially live in a family math problem. Dana covered her mouth and sobbed. Riley wrapped an arm around her mom's shoulders. They sat like that for a long time, breathing through grief that had been waiting years to be acknowledged. Then Riley wiped her eyes and said, Steady. We're done letting them control the story. Dana whispered, What are you going to do? Riley's gaze sharpened. I'm going to make them say it out loud. Riley met Mark at a coffee shop, public and bright because she wasn't stupid. Private conversations in her family always turned into emotional hostage situations. Mark arrived looking tired, like a man who wanted forgiveness more than accountability. He sat down, tried to smile. Hey, kiddo. Riley didn't smile back.
No.
Mark blinked. Riley turned her phone toward him, with the results visible. Mark stared at the screen.
His face changed.
Not in dramatic movie fashion. More like someone watching their excuses evaporate. You did a DNA test, Mark said, voice tight. Riley nodded once.
Yes.
Mark's eyes flicked up. Why would you do that? Riley leaned forward slightly. Because you people treat truth like it's optional. Mark's jaw clenched. This is private. Riley's smile was small and sharp. Private was the affair. Lila is not private. She's a person. Mark looked down, swallowing. Does your mom know you did this? Riley's eyes stayed locked on him.
She's known the whole time.
She just didn't have the freedom to stop pretending. Mark flinched, like that landed. Riley continued, voice calm and dangerous. You're going to tell the family the full truth. You're going to stop letting my mom be the only one swallowing this. Mark's face tightened. And if I don't? Riley's eyes didn't move. Then I do. And I won't be gentle. Mark leaned back, frustrated. You're trying to turn everyone against me. Riley tilted her head.
No.
I'm letting your choices have consequences. Mark rubbed his forehead. I made mistakes. Riley's laugh was soft, bitter. You keep calling it mistakes like it was an accident. It was a decision. Repeated. For years. Mark's voice dropped. I didn't want to lose my family. Riley stared. You didn't want to lose your comfort. Mark's eyes flashed. I still love your mother. Riley's voice softened, but it cut deeper. Love without respect is just selfishness, wearing a nice shirt. Mark went quiet. Riley took a breath. You're going to stop showing up in her life like you still own it. You're going to respect her now. Mark's eyes looked wet. And you? He asked. Are you done with me? Riley swallowed hard. I don't know, she admitted. But I'm done pretending you're the man I thought you were. Mark's shoulders sagged. Riley stood up. She looked down at him, voice steady. Tell the truth. Or I will. Then she walked out. A week later, Grandma Patrice hosted another family dinner, because of course she did. That woman could smell conflict like a shark smells blood, and thought hosting made her the referee. Dana agreed to go, not because she wanted to be there, but because she wanted to stop being afraid of it. Riley drove them. Dana sat in the passenger seat, hands folded, breathing like she was heading into court. Riley reached over at a red light and squeezed her mom's hand. You don't owe them anything, Riley said. Dana nodded. I know. It sounded like she was trying to believe it. They walked in. Tessa was in the living room, pretending everything was normal, because denial was her personality. Mark was there too, sitting stiffly, like had finally realized this wasn't going to disappear if he smiled hard enough. Grandma Patrice greeted them with that tight, practiced expression. Everyone's here, she said, like that was the point. Riley's voice stayed polite. Lucky us. They sat down. Small talk tried to happen. It failed. You can't discuss football when the entire table is sitting on a bomb. Mark cleared his throat. I need to say something, he started. Grandma Patrice frowned. Do we have to do this now? Riley's eyes flicked to her grandmother. Yes. Tessa's face tightened. Mark's voice shook slightly. Lila is my daughter. Grandma Patrice waved a hand. We already know. Donna's eyes narrowed. Then say the rest, Dana said quietly. The room went still. Mark swallowed, looking at Dana. I had an affair with Tessa, he said, voice low. She got pregnant. Tessa's face went red. Dana kept her gaze steady. Grandma Patrice sighed dramatically. And we're dragging this out because... Riley's voice cut through, calm but sharp. Because you've spent years forcing my mom to live inside humiliation while you call it family loyalty. Grandma Patrice's eyes flashed. You're being disrespectful. Riley smiled.
No.
In being accurate. Tessa snapped, voice trembling. Why are you doing this? You're humiliating me. Riley tilted her head. My friends, Riley would have said, this woman thinks consequences are bullying. Riley answered evenly. You humiliated yourself. We're just not covering it up anymore. Dana spoke then, voice steady. I'm leaving Mark. Mark's head snapped up. Dana. Dana lifted a hand.
No. Her voice didn't shake this time.
I spent years convincing myself I had to stay. I don't. Grandma Patrice's face crumpled, instantly pivoting to tears. What will people think? Riley rolled her eyes. Grandma, if people want to pay Mom's therapy bills, they can have an opinion. Tessa's voice sharpened. And what about Lila? Dana turned to her sister, calm and clear. I'm not punishing your child. I'm choosing my life. Mark's eyes looked wet. Please, he whispered. Dana looked at him, and there was grief there, but no surrender. No, she said again. Dana stood up, picked up her purse, and walked toward the door like she finally remembered she had legs. Riley followed. Behind them, Grandma Patrice was crying loudly, like volume could rewrite history. Tessa sat frozen, furious and exposed. Mark stared at the table like he was seeing consequences for the first time. And Riley walked out with her mother, feeling something strange in her chest. Relief. Life didn't instantly become perfect after that. This wasn't a movie. This was real. Dana moved into her own small apartment a few months later, a place that felt quiet in a way she didn't trust at first. She kept expecting chaos to kick down the door. Riley helped her hang curtains, assemble furniture, and laugh at how freeing it felt to choose paint colors without someone else's opinion hovering. Mark kept calling. Some calls were apologetic. Some were angry. Some were manipulative. All of them tried to pull Dana back into the old script. Tessa sent messages that swerved between "I'm sorry" and "you're ruining everything," like she couldn't decide whether she wanted forgiveness or control. Grandma Patrice posted vague quotes on social media about families being tested like she was a victim of weather. Riley watched it all and learned something important. People will call you cruel when you stop letting them hurt you. One evening, Mark showed up at Riley's building unannounced because boundaries were apparently just suggestions in his world. Riley went downstairs, arms crossed, jaw tight. "What are you doing here?" Mark looked tired. "I need to talk to your mom." Riley's eyes narrowed. "Do you need to talk to her, or do you need to pressure her until she folds?" Mark's face tightened. "You're being unfair." Riley laughed softly. "You mean I'm not being convenient?" Mark's voice rose a little. "I'm still your father." Riley stepped closer, voice low. "And you're still acting like that title means you can do whatever you want and people have to forgive you." Mark swallowed. "I made a mistake." Riley's eyes flashed. "Stop calling it that." Mark's shoulders slumped. "Lila asks about Dana," he said quietly. "She misses her." Riley's chest tightened. There it was, the child, used like a lever. Riley took a breath, forcing her voice to stay steady. "Lila is innocent," Riley said. "But you don't get to use her to drag my mom back into pain." Mark's eyes looked wet. "I'm trying to do the right thing." Riley nodded once. "Then start by respecting the word no." Mark stared at her. Riley held his gaze. "Today is not the day," Riley said. Mark's jaw clenched. "You're turning her against me." Riley's laugh was quiet, bitter.
No.
"You did that all by yourself." Riley turned and walked back inside. Later that night, Dana sat on her balcony, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the city like she was learning how to exist again. Riley sat beside her with 2 mugs of tea. Dana spoke softly. "He came here?" Riley nodded.
Yes.
Donna's voice was small. "What did he say?" Riley exhaled. "Same stuff. That he's sorry. That he suffered. That he wants to fix it." Dana smiled faintly, sad. "They always want to fix it after they break it." Riley's eyes burned. "I feel guilty sometimes," Riley admitted. "Like I detonated everything." Dana turned, eyes steady. "Riley," she said gently, "you didn't detonate anything. You turned on the lights." Riley swallowed hard. Dana continued, voice calm. "The mess was already there. I just kept living in the dark because I thought it was safer." Riley let out a shaky breath. Dana reached out and squeezed her hand. "Thank you," Dana whispered. Riley blinked. "For what?" Donna's voice trembled, but she looked peaceful. "For not letting me disappear in that house. For reminding me I'm allowed to choose myself." Riley forced a laugh through tears. "Look at you being all inspirational. Who are you, and what did you do with my mom?" Dana laughed softly, and the sound was like something healing. Months later, Riley ran into Tessa at a big box store because of course she did. The universe loves a public aisle confrontation, my friends. It's like reality TV, but with fluorescent lighting. Tessa looked different. Not necessarily better, just less loud. She approached Riley near the cereal aisle, clutching a cart like a shield. "Hi," Tessa said quietly. Riley raised an eyebrow.
Hi.
Tessa fidgeted with her keys. I wanted to say I'm sorry." Riley stared, expression neutral. "Sorry for what?" Riley asked. "For doing it or for getting caught?" Tessa's face tightened. "For everything." Riley nodded once.
Okay.
Tessa blinked. "That's it? That's all you have to say?" Riley gave a small, tired smile. "Yes," Riley said. "Because I'm not your judge, and I'm not your therapist. I'm just someone who refuses to pretend anymore." Tessa's voice cracked. "Lila asks about you." Riley's throat tightened. Riley took a breath. "I don't hate Lila," Riley said softly. "But I'm not going back into that dynamic, so you can feel absolved." Tessa's eyes filled with tears. "I was messed up," Tessa whispered. Riley's gaze stayed steady, not cruel, just honest. "And you decided to mess up someone else's life too," Riley said. Tessa went quiet. Riley pushed her cart away, because sometimes the most powerful ending is walking away from the circus. Years didn't magically erase the story. They just changed the way it lived inside people. Dana built a new life, not perfect, not glamorous, but real. She laughed more. She slept better. She stopped apologizing for existing. Riley's relationship with Mark became something complicated because love doesn't shut off like a light switch. But Riley's love grew teeth, boundaries, consequences,
Truth.
and Lila grew up surrounded by adults who had made a mess before she could even speak. Riley never blamed her, because children don't create chaos, adults do, and then they hand it to children like inheritance. One afternoon, Dana and Riley sat in Donna's little apartment, drinking coffee at a kitchen table they'd picked out together. Dana looked at Riley and smiled, amused. "You know what's funny?" Dana said. Riley raised an eyebrow. "What?" Donna's smile turned wry. "I used to think the goal was to never complain, to never make waves, to keep the family together." Riley nodded. Donna's eyes sharpened, gentle but firm. "Now I think the goal is to stop confusing silence with peace." Riley let out a low laugh. "Okay, philosopher queen." Dana laughed. Then Dana got quiet. "Are you okay?"
She asked.
Riley stared into her coffee. Riley answered honestly. "I'm healing," Riley said. "But sometimes I still can't believe it happened." Dana nodded slowly. "Me neither." Riley looked up, eyes bright. "And the worst part is realizing how normal everyone tried to make it." Dana exhaled. "That's how people survive things they shouldn't have to survive," Dana said. "They normalize it." Riley's jaw tightened. "And that's why I will never complain about a weird uncle again," Riley said. "Because, my friends, nothing tops my cousin is also my sister." Dana laughed, and then sighed. Riley leaned back in her chair and let the question hang in the air, the one that makes people squirm, because it asks what kind of person they are under pressure. What would you do in Riley's place? Would you stay quiet to keep the peace, even if the peace is built on your mother's pain? Would you cut off your dad completely? Or would you keep him at arm's length and make him earn every inch back? Would you ever forgive your aunt? Or is that a door you'd lock forever? And the most uncomfortable one of all, when there's an innocent child in the middle, how do you protect them without protecting the people who cause the harm?
If you've made it this far, show your support with a like. Because if you made it this far, you're officially emotionally strong enough to handle your own family group chat without flinching. So tell me, my friends. And yes, Miss Amigos too, because I know y'all have stories. What would you do? Would you expose it? Would you vanish? Would you go full petty and bring receipts to Christmas dinner? Comment down below, my friends. I need to know what you would do in this situation.